So there's ways to connect with each other. As we said already, you can join the Cooks Alliance on the website or direct folks in your community, other slow food chefs and cooks that you know that you think should be connected to this great network, direct them to the website. And then once you're a member, there's a whole other host of resources available to you. Fernando, do you want to talk about those?
So you mentioned some of the portals and links. So Slack is a communications portal you spoke to. That's we're all getting accustomed to, and it's a great forum and instantaneous. We're able to communicate quickly. I was able to respond to a question already on that service. It's only been up for a few days that I know of. With respect to the listserv, that's something that I think is more of an administrative thing, right? That's not something that we have access to, or do we?
Yeah, once you're a member, and I have already inputted the members to the listserv, they can reply to each other. You can post things to the listserv there as well. Slack is it's more of a conversational tool, and also really rapid, like you're saying, more like a texting type of service. Slow Food USA has Slack as well, and a lot of leaders engaged there. We're just trying to create a lot of access points for everyone to connect with each other.
One thing, sorry, excuse me, Fernando. One thing with the Slack is a good opportunity. If anybody comes across good opportunities, I put on there classes that Cornell was giving out in terms of production. If there's a great article, you can put it on there, a producer, or if you have a question that you don't know. So there's lots of different things on there, and there's information. And of course, the more people that add stuff to it, the more valuable it will become. So please feel free to put anything on. It could be anything as mundane as whatever you think it is, but just to get the conversation rolling, and may get something percolating if anybody gets on there.
Exactly. And the last thing on this slide was the producers matrix, which Jay has mentioned earlier. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. So what we're trying to do is come up with between Arc of Taste products. And a lot of the chefs right now, regionally, or have connections and sources for products. Like I'm up here in the Northeast, and I'm out here on Long Island, but I was also originally recently in the Hudson Valley for 20 years. So all of New York State, I have sources from Albany west to Binghamton for different products and growers. And we want to get it out more, make it more available to people. So Kären has a small little profile Excel questionnaire to fill out. So we're looking for people to fill it out and to get as much information. The questionnaire has what the Arc of Taste item is, who the grower is, their contact information, and their website. Keeping it simple. I know everybody's short on time, so we can build sources. Everybody has sources of purchasing. So if we get a group, it'll be basically a one-place shop or index to find where all these products are. And it's going to be a way also, we're going to give farmers access to our list of people too, so they can get a bigger radius of where they're going to be able to sell products to. So we're looking, anybody who's got a connection, could be 1 or could be 25. Mara, at some point, will send out the questionnaire to everybody on the.
I just had Anna put it in the chat for us.
Perfect.
If you have a connection to any Arc of Taste items and the producers, that's the main goal. And that way we know, because we have this huge catalog of Arc of Taste, but the goal now is to how do we connect everybody to those actual products so we can actually be using them now in our cooking and in our restaurants, and that economic viability that Jay mentioned earlier, that's where those connections start to happen. And then those farmers and those producers can start seeing some economic benefit from growing these rare and much celebrated foods. So thank you.
Also, if you have a source of a product that's not on the Arc of Taste, put it on the Slack page. Let everybody share on it. It may be a great source of trout. Like I have somebody in the Catskills, 5th generation trout farm that's growing trout in the Catskill Aquifer. So, I mean, which is not a Arc of Taste item, but it's a great item to put on to, a source of items. So please, get the information out to everybody.
I think it's worth mentioning that the manner in which foods go from being recognized and then nominated for the Arc of Taste, there's lots of foods that have been brought forward that, they haven't risen to the Arc of Taste acceptance yet, but it's good to keep an eye on them. I've got a book here. It's called, I don't think you can see it. It's called Salmon Nation. It was a joint effort by EcoTrust. Can you see that? Let's see.
It's a little bit difficult.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's called Salmon Nation, and it's one of a series of the entire Western Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, by Slow Food and other organizations, EcoTrust among them. And it just made a list of the foods from the region in several regions. I think we got through Salmon Nation and Chile Nation, and those iconic totemic foods are just serve as areas of either foodway or foods that were celebrated within the region. But the point is, with respect to Arc of Taste, is that there's many items, types of beans, for example, which are maybe eligible for Arc of Taste, but we won't know about them and they have to go through the process. So the list that Jay is proposing would have Arc of Taste products most certainly, but then also foods that might be nominated for that. If I understand that correctly, Mara, is that right?
Sure. I mean, that makes sense to me. And I think I'm also spearheading the Arc of Taste regional committees as well. So
Super.
As those items get put on that list, I can sort of flag the ones that aren't currently Arc of Taste items that maybe I can punt over to the region that's appropriate to that and have them do some research and see if it's worthy of nomination.
Surely, yeah, and that's something that I hope to help with on a regional basis and on a national basis. What I'm seeing though is through Slow Food, for example, the potato that was considered the Ozette potato is now showing up in other areas through trade from that source. So they are connected genetically to those potatoes. There's one called Maria's Klingit potato, for example, that was grown throughout Western Canada and Southeast Alaska. And then I understand that Hawaii has a potato as well that is genetically associated. So through the collaborative, through the Slow Food Grow program and seed saving program, all of it's connected with respect to a discovery of products that should be on the Arc of Taste and can be advanced forward and then more fully understood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the idea is to celebrate them and also enjoy them, keep
Absolutely.
them on our plates and keep them in our diets, and it makes the world a better place to have so much more biodiversity. That's the goal of the Arc of Taste. All right, thank you for all that input, folks. So those were ways to engage with each other through the Cooks Alliance. The larger community, obviously, Cooks Alliance is one program, but there's other programs of slow food that can easily connect with the Cooks Alliance. One of those is the Snail of Approval, and we've already mentioned that, like as a Snail of Approval awardees, get logged on to the national page back at the website. Again, there's another section there for the Snail of Approval, and you can see all of the awardees across the country there. And I'm hoping that some of those regional leaders will say, hey, new Snail of Approval folks, you should connect with the Cooks Alliance, and then the Cooks Alliance can connect with them. Jay, did you have other ideas for how the Snail of Approval and Cooks Alliance would collaborate?
No, I think
just connecting, right?
Yeah, just connecting. I think it's kind of the same thing we've talked about.
Yep. And then
I'd like to say that that's a particular area of interest of mine, Mara, to help give buoyancy to that program. And through the nomination process to the inspection and verification and so on, and really activate that throughout the nation here and leverage that because it's such a wonderful association, and it's really a great marketing tool for all levels of folks. So it's an initiative that we want to breathe a strong breath of life into. Hope to do so.
Thanks. Yeah, I always see the snail of approval as one of these great services to our membership, right? It's one of those things like all members wonder where the best places to eat are. And through the snail of approval process, we were vetting good, clean, and fair restaurants and food producers. And it's just one of those places that members can feel really good going to these businesses, knowing that they've passed through the good, clean, fair, slow food filter. As Jay and Fernando have mentioned, the Arc of Taste and the Producer's Matrix, we're hoping to have the Producer's Matrix be one of those things that's a living document online where both producers and chefs will be able to find and source things from each other or grow things for those chefs. We're hoping it'll be a very dynamic place. So yeah, as we mentioned earlier with that early link about brainstorming all of those products and the producers there, once we have a good robust list, we can start building that out. So that's one of the goals that I have for the Cooks Alliance this year. And then the Plant a Seed campaign, which we're talking a lot about during this Leader Summit. Those of you that have attended other sessions have seen this already, but we're hoping that the Plant a Seed year-long campaign will connect to all of the slow food programs, and Cooked Alliance is one of the big ones that I really am hoping Plant a Seed will be integral to some of their programming this year. It being an annual campaign, we're going to have the school gardens planting early in the season. We're going to have people, who purchase the kits, because the Plant a Seed is a kit and it's a campaign. So you can get the kit filled with these 6 Arc of Taste beans. And later today, actually this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be giving a talk about the actual components of the kit and all the individual beans there. But the idea is that each of the beans in the kit have been chosen because they're very specific regional significance throughout the country, and they're all Arc of Taste items. So it's a perfect dovetailing with the Cooks Alliance goals of celebrating some of these Arc of Taste crops. What I'm hoping is that there will be bean feeds or bean suppers. Our country has a rich history of having gatherings around beans. Each region has their own way of doing this. And in talking with Jay and the other Cooks Alliance members, they thought that that was something that they could really get behind. And Jay has already done one with the Hank's extra special baking bean through another project. So can you talk a little bit, Jay, about how you envision this collaboration working?
Sure. I was involved with Glenwood Incubator Farm, which is in upstate New York, as well as Ken Green at the Hudson Valley Seed Library. And this just goes to show you with the products on the Arc of Taste, really the story behind them. The Hank's extra bean was grown by the gentleman named Hanks in upstate New York. It was a bean he used to make baked beans with, and every year he would save the beans. And when he died, probably, I guess it was maybe 40 years ago or something, his daughter found literally a coffee can of the beans that were left over. And through the Hudson Valley Seed Library, when I was involved with the Kitchen Cultivars program with Glenwood, we were through the process of, we first grew out the beans at different farms, which is one of the things that's going on with these Plant a Seed. And we came, the next year we had 100 pounds of seeds, which we wound up bringing, and we took half to grow the seeds, and then half of them went to myself and 10 other chefs. And we featured, the whole thing behind the Hank's bean was we did a cassoulet. So everybody was doing cassoulet dinners. I wound up actually an easier way of doing it instead of, which I found that got more traction than just doing the one dinner, is for a month or so until I ran out of the beans, it was a menu item using one of these items on the menu. We would put the farm, we'd talk about it. We'd have actually seed packs for sale at the restaurant. People wanted the Hank's bean to grow. And it was really, got a lot of traction, and then now we're at a point with the seed where probably 10 years ago, there was only a coffee can. There's probably a couple 100 pounds of seed available now. And you think about a seed it's almost extinct when there's a pound of it going on, a coffee can. So you think about how many, beans are in a coffee can. Think about, people talk, what really gets me going with this, the Arc of Taste has kind of made me get a little crazy. People talk about animals going extinct, but what about our food and our history? I talked about just recently, I worked with 2 functionally extinct tomato plants, which I was the first person and in 50 years to actually cook with it and make a shelf stable product. When you think about the history and what you're really working with, I think Fernando and everybody, it's part of this call as well as on the Alliance, as well as Slow Food. We value what the farmer does, but I think also, which is important to which I've done, is the farmers need to see the product cooked or whatever. A lot of times they grow the seed or the vegetable or the cheese, whatever they're growing on the Arc of Taste, and you never see the end product of it. Where, chefs have their cooks go to the farms to learn how to do that. I always made it a point to get the farmers involved in the food. And they understand why they're growing it, what the chef is doing with it. So I think the more information we get out, it's really, it's a great story, and really shows you what the value of what we're doing.
I think one of the seeds, the beans are, a great connection throughout all the initiatives of slow food in many different ways. But one of the things that we can do as cooks, though, is to make it on all consumer levels. So with the grow program, the garden program, for example, getting the kids excited about planting the seeds, but also, what they can do that are different and fun with respect to some conventional preparations, and then even some older kids with respect to what protein analogs, meat analogs that beans can become. So there's all kinds of opportunities to engage with the entire community, and that's one of the things that I think Chefs Alliance or Cooks Alliance can do, and will focus. Hopefully, Jay and I were speaking, and I know Kären teaches that, lives and breathes that, and most of the chefs do too that are working with public outreach, is to be able to prepare cassoulet certainly in fine dining environment, but also to come up with beans that are bean dishes and all kinds of recipes that are representative of our migrant community as well. And, Japanese and the Asian community have a strong history with beans, as do the African American and Native American and so on. So it really bridges the entire breadth of slow food, this bean initiative.
I agree. And I feel like I got very excited about it because slow beans became another slow in Italy this past year. And I was like, you know what? We have so many beans in the New World over here where that are tied to identities, and they're so specifically regional, and everyone's got a favorite bean recipe, or a story about a bean or some sort of relationship with beans. And I'm really excited for this year to hear everybody's engagement with beans and how they want to share them with each other. I mean, all the different recipes that are going to come out of this year are going to be pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the way in which you can eat beans. You can eat them as greens oftentimes and dried, and many people don't necessarily make that connection. So and so too for Chefs or Cooks Alliance in particular, is eating the food in different stages, from seed to sprout to tender young growth to mature plants, and then the fruits of that. That's all part of of what we do to try to help foster forward these concepts.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is the benefit of having this be a year-long campaign. We get to hit the beans at all the different stages of growth and celebrate them all along the way until we get to that dry bean stage in the late summer, early fall, for all those soups that we're probably going to have. So just to remind folks, the Plant to Seed campaign is officially launching February 10th, which is International World Pulses Day. We're going to have a Slow Food Live with the FAO and some other friends in the bean world. It's being pulled together right now, so there'll be more information forthcoming, but you can sign up if you're interested. I believe there's a link in the chat for that pre-registration for that Plant to Seed launch event. Okay, we've talked a lot, and I would love to have an opportunity for everybody to contribute. Let's talk about what we want to do with the Cooks Alliance for 2022. I've created a jam board. This is new to me, but Anna, I think you can put the link to the jam board is in the chat. When you go over to the jam board, there's a little underneath the arrow on the left panel there, there's a little sticky note looking thing icon, and you can click on that and add your contribution there, and we can read it, and then we'll have this for later, so the Cooks Alliance leadership team can go back and refer to it and follow up with folks. After you, is everybody able to access that? Are there any questions? You can unmute yourself if you're having any problems. And Anna, should we be able to see people's contributions here? There's 2 pages also. So page 1 is what would you like to see the Cooks Alliance do in 2022? And then the second page at the top there, you can toggle between the 2, is how would you like to engage with Plant to Seed this year? Are you a chef in a region? Are you stoked about one of these beans? Also, one of my visions for the Plant to Seed bean suppers was that this would be a way to actually celebrate more than just the Arc of Taste bean that's being featured this year, but there's so many beans in each region that are valuable and important and worthy of having some celebration around them. So like, okay, there's a question about how to do this. So there you go. Some folks are able to get in there. So if you click on this thing, it says sticky note, and then you can choose your color of sticky note, and then you type directly in there. Then that'll add your contribution. All right, there's a couple already. Get new members to the leadership and cook together again. Absolutely. It's been a hard couple of years, hasn't it? We haven't been able to get together and have meals together. And that's one of the most fun things that we do as Slow Food. And if you could add your name to your sticky note, that would be helpful. Food can't be good, clean, and fair if it's made under unfair working conditions. I'd like to see the promotion of fair wages and better working conditions promoted. Great, that is really helpful feedback. I think there's a lot of facets of the chef and restaurant community that are having that discussion. This is the kind of thing we can share and talk about in the Slack also, sharing resources there. Awesome. Jay and Fernando, do you have any things that have come up for you that you wanted to bring up as we're waiting for people to put submissions here?
Yeah, I'm putting one in here. I think that it'd be great to expand our scale of approval through chapter nominations for subject property. I'm adding that.
Great.
One of the things I think we can do upcoming is to make sure that we're connecting with the various chapters. If you're not in a centralized area like I am, I'm in a rural area. I engage with several different groups, but to make sure that that Chefs Alliance or Cooks Alliance is, providing things that folks are looking for, recipes, access to recipes, links to recipes,
Yeah.
And presenting at the farmers markets and events and so on. Those are all opportunities to reinforce slow food initiatives.
Yeah, that's great. I like this comment. Have a chef on our Slow Food Philly board. Absolutely. I think a lot of the chapters who do have chefs on their boards have, they have engaged engagement with restaurants more fully than chapters that don't. Obviously, if you have an inn, you can have a lot more discussions about what's happening on the line and what the reality is back there or in the back of the house. Great. Equity between undeveloped communities and underdeveloped communities, and education about growing in every landscape or living conditions. Nice. Thank you, Rachel. Offer up availability to regional chapters for recipes, classes, demos. Yeah, have you both, Fernando and Jay, have you worked with chapters directly in providing content for chapters?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so have I. I mean, I was up until recently on the board of Slow Food East End. And then before that, I was involved with, not on the boards, but involved with Slow Food Metro North, Slow Food Hudson Valley, and New York City as well. So yeah, definitely. One of the things that we did through Slow Food East End, we did a Chefs to School program where we had worked with the middle school, had classes with the kids each week with various chefs. And at the end of the, I think it was an 8-week period, we had the kids, and obviously myself and the chefs that were teaching the kids cook and serve the dinner to their parents and school administrators. So it was really a great program, and there was the kids you would never believe who could cook and could actually do, and they really.
Anna, if there's any comments in the chat that should go in the chat, that'd be great. Great. Okay, well, let's move on to the second slide here. Thank you, Shirley, for that. Migrant workers need to be part of the discussion and input for any slow food moves forward. Agreed. And this is a great place for that. I mean,
I gotta say that's my father came over. He's Filipino American. He came to the United States in just before World War II. And so I was born in Wapato, and so that's my association with the Kama as a migrant worker, my father and family. So here's a migrant worker's voice.
Housing for employees. Yes, it'd be really nice to hear from other chefs that have engagement with that.
Yeah, I mean, I know out here where I am in the East End of Long Island, affordable housing for employees is non-existent. Their cooks are, and even the farm workers, it's very hard. And I mean, a lot of the cooks are traveling an hour and a half each way for working. So it's really an issue. And it's, as the labor shortage, as bad as it is in areas like where I am, it's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Anna could maybe speak to that with respect to what Slow Food does with migration and that aspect. Do you have any comments on that, Anna?
The national level is something we're working on partnerships with, because we don't necessarily have direct ties with many of these migrant workers, but we've been looking at what partnerships can we develop with organizations that are really closely aligned so that we can develop ties with them.
Yeah, I know that as a cook, a restaurateur, and in the business of food, there's ample opportunity for interaction and advocation for workers, and seeing it, Jay's, it's not just in urban areas, but in rural too. There's just with the current status of immigration being what it is with the pandemic and so on, it really is putting a strain on it. And those that are here are often overworked and underappreciated. So lots of work can still be done with that. And so part of what chefs and cooks do is interact with them on a direct level and provide opportunities for them to make their way through the food system.
Yeah. From your perspective on the ground, are you seeing certain organizations that are more impactful one of the national groups we're talking with is the Food Chain Workers Alliance. But I wonder from your, like Shirley, Fernando, do you all see other groups that we should be connecting with? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I don't have any specific that come to mind, but there are a few that are in the consciousness and active, and I'll pass those along.
Great. Thank you for all your contributions, everyone. This Jamboard can remain open for a while. If you think of other things that you'd like to give the Cooks Alliance Leadership Committee things to think about, and perhaps directions to go this year, I want to take a moment and scroll over to the next Jamboard. That is, how would you like to engage with Plant a Seed this year? Especially if you're a chef. Grow the Rockwell beans and offer a dinner for our community. Cassoulet sounds great. Rockwells are a sweet little chubby bean that's white with beautiful orange maroon mottling, and they would be gorgeous in a stew, gorgeous in a cassoulet. That's great. It'll be so wonderful. I'm hopeful that COVID will allow us to gather and have meals together again in the coming year. I was thinking about that in regards to possibly these regional bean feeds and bean suppers. And Jay had experienced doing some dinners remotely. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that, Jay, and how that functionally worked?
Yeah, recently, because where I am at the East End Food Institute, we're working with Stony Brook University Hospital with their food to medicine program. And before COVID, we're having in-house classes for Parkinson's and cancer patients in terms of food. So what we found during the pandemic is we put together these meal kits with recipes, and we sent it to people would sign up for it. We did it for free because it was through the school. I mean, the Stony Brook University was paying for it. And what we did is we did it like basically like a Zoom call. I would talk them through the recipes and show them how to make the dishes. Some people were actually cooking at the same time we're doing the classes, and other people were just watching. But then what we did at the end is, or after each recipe, we had a Zoom question where people were asking me questions live in terms of how to do that. So if we can't, it's a way of can't doing it in person. It's a great way to connect with people and put together meal kits and let them purchase the meal kits, and and we'd have like a wine suggestion if we're going to do it for something like this. Now with obviously with medicine program, you could partner with a local winery or a distillery or something like that and put it in your package where you get the dinner, and then you also get a bottle of wine, and you can either cook the dinner or live or have it doing that as well, and that works. And it's a great way to get, if you record it, it's a great way to also get content for all your digital media.
Jay, Phil is doing food as medicine. That's a focus of one of his initiatives, and I've been my last collaboration was called Heart Protection Kitchen, which focuses on preventive healthful ways to for nutrition and health. And it's really a strong opportunity. You mentioned wine. This particular institute that I was working with included wine, because wine is not, a glass of wine with a meal 3 or 4 times a week is considered a healthful thing. So we took advantage of that also.
Right.
But most institutions and hospitals, many schools, most folks are pretty open with the caveat, of course, of the pandemic. But given the normalcy of being able to have in-person events, they're highly popular and well attended when there's opportunities to interact and engage on all levels when it comes to the food and the tasting and being able to have tactile engagement with folks. But also, I think with this new opportunity that's evolved with these, with this new presentation forum that everyone has adopted and is becoming more and more skilled at and becoming more acceptable, it really is a powerful new dynamic that we can take advantage of with slow food to get the word out and provide resources and sort of shake that Pavlovian chain, because there's more exposure that we have now. It's just a matter of doing it in a manner that folks want to hear. So we look forward to your comments on how we can engage you.
Yeah. I just actually thought of something while you were talking. When I was also wound up having an outdoor event at an orchard where various chefs that were involved in the grow out each had a booth, or like with any of these tasting events, where we each did a product using the Long Island cheese pumpkin, and it was at an orchard. So we had cider, local cider, New York State, apple cider is huge. And I think it's actually on the Arc of Taste list. And it was a great event. So if, we don't want to commit to a dinner, but you also, a great way to connect with the Chefs Alliance is you get a couple of members who are on the Alliance or want to join the Alliance to say, look, this is a way of connecting and putting together some type of event where you have 10 chefs and some wineries, and you're doing anything with, let's say, the Hancock's bean or whatever your regional item as well, is a great way to do that as well. And
Yeah, I second that. Oh, that's, we had a tomato festival and we invited all the schools, in addition to the general public, and chefs from all over the region came, prepared tomato dishes. And then we met many of the school representatives that were teachers or administrators that were really interested in what we're up to, which led to then developing a school garden program and so on. So it all feeds off of one another and really helps us strengthen our mission.
Sure.
Agreed. And that's the glory, right? Like that's what we're headed for, as if all those slow food programs could be sharing resources and sharing skills and doing things together. If you have the gardens working with your Cooks Alliance, and you have small approval chefs joining the Cooks Alliance, and the more the merrier, and the more people that can get engaged, the better. Whether it is on Zoom or whether it's a live event or at a orchard sharing a meal late summer, early fall, when we can still be outside. That's all. Those are great suggestions. I wanted to open it up to any questions that any of our attendees might have for our chefs or for me or Anna here before we close. I really appreciate all the suggestions that you all have contributed to the Jam board. Thanks for tolerating our tech. I know it can be a little challenging sometimes, but if anyone have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask away. We have like 3 or 4 minutes that we can devote to questions. If anyone else has ideas of how that you didn't want to engage with the Jam board and you just wanted to share some ideas, that'd be great too. Hear your voices.
One thing that we talked about before, feel free to reach out to us on the webpage. You can email us directly. And I'm sure, on the Slack page as well. If you don't get a response on the Slack page, reach out to myself, Fernando, Phil, or anybody else that's on there. And if we don't have an answer, we can definitely connect you to that. So, obviously, when we're on the call, we don't think about it, but moving forward, if I know like anybody else, as soon as you get off the call, you're going to think, oh, I should ask this. Please reach out to us. And we have lots of ways to do it now. So
yeah, many of us have recipes already for many of the ARC foods as well. So it's they're available to anyone that is interested in using and utilizing. Encourage you to get a hold of us.
Sure.
Lovely. All right. Well,
Hi, Mara.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
It's Kathy. For some reason, my last two meetings, I've lost my picture, but I
Oh.
have the audio. So
Okay.
I wasn't able to do that jam thing. I am part of the Snail of Approval program in Sonoma County North, and definitely want to hook up with the Cooks Alliance and get that partnership going a little bit more, and also the school gardens program. So I wasn't able to put that on the jam board, but
Okay.
those are two areas that I'd really like to plug into the Cooks Alliance with.
Kathy, I'll contact you directly with respect to the, you mentioned the snail of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to link us up with that.
We're
Probably.
definitely, we've been doing it since 2017.
Okay,
So we have a pretty strong program. We do farms, restaurants, and producers.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate your question. All right, before we close, I think I saw Shirley had a question for both Jay and Fernando to share their favorite dish, and then we can end. Jay, what's your favorite dish?
Everything.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's tough to say what's favorite. What's favorite is always what's in season.
That's
That's really one of the points, I think, is to, for each region, there's foods that are very minimally available, but they really punctuate the season, and that's why I have this dish behind me here. This is a one from the Northwest here. It's got wapato, fiddleheads, salmon or steelhead rather, and leeks and wild rice. And wild rice you probably don't associate with the Northwest, but it used to cover the entire northern hemisphere. So that's how things have changed over time. But that's really the essence of what for me, for slow food, is to celebrate and eat what's available in your region first and foremost, and bring those flavors to those foods that you're accustomed to.
perfect. Thank you. Well, I wanted to thank everybody for spending some of your Sunday with us today and learning a little bit about the Cooks Alliance and getting to know Jay and Fernando. I think we have a survey link in the chat. We'd really appreciate your feedback. If you have some suggestions or thoughts about today's session, please take a moment to do that survey. And there's a lot of programming happening today. We have a week left of the Leaders Summit. Next Sunday is the 30th. That's the last day. So all this week we're chock full of all sorts of good programming, even today. So in a couple hours, or in an hour actually, we have Slow Books. And then after that at 7 Eastern, we have me talking all about the Plant a Seed campaign for the year, and so much more on the Leaders Summit agenda for the rest of the week. So I really appreciate you sharing your day with us, and I look forward to seeing you at future sessions.
Thanks,
I'm gonna stop.
Thank
Yeah,
you all for joining us.
Great. Thanks, guys. Good seeing everybody.
yeah, we'll see you all at the next sessions. Appreciate
Thanks,
you all.
everyone.